A very pleasant good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's discussion. On behalf of the Board of Directors and the Executive Director at the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries, we sincerely thank you for joining, and we welcome you to today's discussion on financial and estate planning presented by Mr. Colin Daniel. Today's discussion concludes our financial literacy series. We would have throughout the months of August and September conducted financial planning sessions with one of our members, Barifa, and today concludes that series. We are very grateful to Mr. Daniel for taking the time to come and join us today to deliver what we are confident will be a very informative and enlightening discussion. I am Alicia Salmon, the Senior Project Officer at the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries, and we certainly thank you for being here. However, I am not your moderator for today's session. I would like to introduce you to Miss Chantal Reefer. I will read her bio for you, and then I will hand over this evening's proceedings to Miss Reefer. Now, Chantal, for the past 10 years, has been providing great value to clients as a financial advisor at Sagicor Life, Inc. She provides financial counseling for people throughout various stages of their life and helps them plan for their short-term needs and long-term goals. She is absolutely dedicated to the financial well-being of her clients and focuses on offering suggestions and alternatives on ways to help accumulate, protect, and preserve their ever-changing needs and priorities. Her educational background provides experience in government and political studies, economics, and law. This background has influenced her transition into the advisory role, where she has helped corporate and individual clients identify insurance and investment needs that would benefit their individual situations. She has been recognized for various accomplishments, such as being a Barbados Production Roundtable and Quality Awardee, an Inner Circle Awardee, Sagittarius Honor Roll, and $1 Million Roundtable qualifier and attendee. Mrs. Reefer is a business owner in the field of real estate. She has written articles for the Nation's Work and Wealth magazine, covering topics such as entrepreneurship and finances. She is an avid food lover who enjoys various types of cuisines. In her spare time, she enjoys yoga, the beach, and time with family. Mrs. Reefer is more than qualified to moderate this evening's session. And with that, I wish to hand over the proceedings to Mrs. Reefer.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar hosted by the Barbados Coalition of Services Industries. The BCSI is a national umbrella body that brings together businesses in the services sector in Barbados. They are the sole business support organization in Barbados that is dedicated to representing the interests of service providers and the services sector. Its members include companies, trade associations, and professional associations. BCSI represents a broad array of Barbados entities that provide services domestically and internationally, including but not limited to digital trade and technology, telecommunications, media and entertainment, express delivery and logistics, retail and wholesale services, banking, insurance, and other services. One of its main objectives and activities focuses on today's topic, which is financial literacy and estate planning. So this evening, we will be covering financial literacy, When do you start pension planning? When do you start to plan your estate? The effective use of insurance as part of estate and business succession planning, savings versus investing, the 5 rituals of wealth, managing your business, business succession planning, the transfer of assets from principal to beneficiaries, as well as issues with real property. This evening's presenter is Mr. Colin Daniel. Colin is the Principal Consultant of Strategic Consulting and Advisory Services and Managing Partner of Limestone Capital SRL. He provides strategic business solutions to his clients, including pricing and costing of goods and services to deliver business profitability, business strategy consulting, succession planning, and organizational planning. In addition, he advises on corporate structures, debt restructuring, business combinations, and valuations. Colin has worked in Barbados, Bermuda, Canada, and the Cayman Islands. He started his career with a major accounting firm where he earned experience in audit accounting and management consulting before moving into the international business sector. His broader experience includes the financial services sector, hospitality, information technology, and the public sector. He has served in the capacity of either CFO or controller in several organizations. Colin lectured Advanced Management Accounting, Management Accounting 1, and Financial Accounting 1 in the CGA program, as well as Audit and Computer-Based Accounting at UWI in the 1990s. More recently, he has lectured in taxation at UWI for their graduate program. He is a fellow of the Certified General Accountant Association of Canada, having gained his designation in 1990. He was elected as a fellow of the Certified General Accountants Association and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Barbados. In addition, he has completed programs with the Association of the Corporate Secretaries and Administrators in Canada, the Canadian Securities Course, as well as several courses in general insurance. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and applied technology from the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Colin Daniel.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. I hope it will be interesting to all the participants. I see some names of people I know, some friends and associates. Can you hear me? Everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a few things in terms of financial and estate planning. We're going to cover issues, just a broad definition of what financial literacy is, wealth, a little bit on insurance, a little bit on business management, and then in terms of business succession planning and estate planning. So without much more delay, let's just get started. So the contents are there on the desktop, and we're just going into a broad definition of financial literacy, which is what we're supposed to do. So financial literacy is the ability to understand effectively use financial skills, including personal financial management, budgeting, and investing. But for me, it's very broad and very simple, is to ensure that each person has sufficient knowledge to manage their own financial affairs. And secondly, for them to understand the gaps of knowledge due to the complexity of a subject matter issue where they need to find the appropriate expertise to help, to get them help. So in other words, you're financially literate, in my view, if you understand the things that you know, and if you actually have a good grasp of the things that you don't know and you know how to fix that gap. Okay. In wealth, I'm going to talk about the definition of wealth and then the 5 rituals of wealth. The 5 rituals of wealth is by a guy called Tom Barnard. I read this back around probably 1994. And as much as possible, I've continued to try to use the tenets of those lessons in my personal life. So everyone understands what it means to be wealthy. Dwayne Marsh, for example, can you give me an example or define being wealthy? Okay, so in broad sense, if you're wealthy, you're also rich, all right? But if you're rich, you may not be wealthy. You're wealthy when you have assets, including business assets, that when managed, generate the type of income that you need to meet your personal and professional objectives in terms of savings, investment, your charitable ideas, and your succession goals. And succession goals means, what do you want to leave to your successors, to your heirs, to your children, to your family? In addition, being wealthy means that in an economic downturn, you will not suffer any significant change in your lifestyle. And the long-term objectives will not be significantly adversely affected. So if we cast our mind back to 2008, when we had the global financial meltdown, the Barbados tourism sector was adversely affected because we had a lot of rich people traveling to Barbados for vacation on the high end, but we did not necessarily have a lot of wealthy people in that category that maintained that lifestyle during the recession period between 2007 and 2010, primarily in North America and Northern Europe. So we suffered that because we had a slice of our economy that was dependent on rich people, but not necessarily dependent on wealthy people. Yeah. Just jumping into the 5 rituals of wealth. And these are things that very ably defined in this book by Tom Bernard. You should try and see if you can get a copy of it. It is still available through a few booksellers online, but definitely not Amazon. I have not been able to get it on Amazon for a couple of years. But he broke down in this narrative 5 things that he did in terms of going from a young guy around early 20s to build a good wealth portfolio by the time he was 30, 32. And these are among the authors, for example, the guy that did things like The Wealthy Barber, and a lot of those financial help books that were around in the late 80s and early 90s. But what I found with this one was that it was a pretty easy read and it made sense and it's simple to execute. So the first ritual he talks about is pay yourself first. This means that when you get paid on the day, when you get paid if you're employed, or even if you're self-employed, the first thing you should do is put aside a portion of your income for savings and investment. So he recommends to try to get up to about 10%, but typically 5% is pretty good. And you can use things like your savings account, your mutual funds, or whatever else are part of those things that you pay yourself first with. So the same way you pay your cell bill, your groceries, your insurance, which is also part of the investment portfolio, that activity of saving and investment should be on your timetable in the same manner.
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first, right? And I'll give you a story. After I read the book, I started to do that. And I was able to do that for maybe about 18 months. And I will tell you, I was able to generate savings around $50,000 in that 18-month period. Yes, I was well paid at the time, but in terms of the discipline to do it compared to my lifestyle before, the reward in terms of being able to generate those extra savings by way of both savings account and mutual funds was tremendous. Okay. So if you're setting out, if you have your extra, a little bit of extra money, see if you can get 2 to 5 to 10% of your net income and put it into a saving or investment vehicle. The returns are significant in a short period of time, and they're more significant over the long term. The second ritual is keep to your dreams. Do what you love, money will follow. So in essence, if you're working on a job or a situation which makes you unhappy, it is very difficult to continue that commitment in terms of making your best effort. And secondly, even item one, pay yourself first, because you're frustrated with what you're doing. So find a job or profession that really speaks to you, speaks to your soul, and you will find that it is easy to make the effort to continue to excel, to provide good service, and to reach the financial reward from doing the things that you dream about doing. It also means about starting and looking at things like, what do I want in terms of my house? What do I want in terms of my car? What do I want in terms of vacation? It is a holistic view, and rather than just a very narrow view of just the financial aspect of it. The next component of it is set your plan, maintain your plan. Life is a long-term objective. Most of us, if we are lucky, who are right now in my time as a 60-year-old gentleman, based on the history of my family and based on what we've seen happen transpire in the last 30 years, I have a very good expectation to live until at least 80. So I have to maintain a plan in terms of what do I need to do to be able to survive financially and survive in relatively good health in terms of meeting an objective to be a 80+ active person. So I have to make a plan. I need to keep to my plan, and I need to work it. Okay. The other two rituals are employ your resources effectively. This means in terms of the things that you own or invested in, make sure they provide you with what your objectives are. Okay, so in terms of making your money work for you, each of us have a particular risk profile. So we select assets and saving investment assets and saving assets that we're comfortable with. We may even adopt a particular philosophy in terms of investing, in terms of ethical investing. So we're not going to invest in things that are companies that, for example, trade in weapons and or are associated with child labor, for example. Yeah. But as we do that plan, as we try to make our assets work effectively, we need to do a regular review of your portfolio of savings and investments. So one of the things that you recommended, for example, to make your money work very effectively, let's say you've chosen to put money in a mutual fund. The principal recommendation with mutual fund assets has always been what we call dollar unit averaging. So we decide we are going to put in $100, $200, $500 per month, regardless of the performance of the fund. And especially if you have a 20 to 30 year horizon to invest in, you should never get yourself overly concerned in terms of the the periodic ups and downs in terms of market. So right now, when we look at the US market and the UK markets, the international equity and stock markets, because of the Fed tightening, there's some volatility in stocks. But what I would say to you, when you look at the long-term effects of the Dow Jones, for example, that has climbed steadily since the 1920s. In fact, since the 1930s, when you had the major financial meltdown. So, and even when we look at it from 2008, when the market crashed from around 15,000 points on Dow through to 8,000 by the time President Obama became president, that market has steadily climbed from that 7,000 to 8,000 threshold to around 28,000, 29,000 points today, as of this week. A few weeks last year, it was as high as 32,000. So over the long term, your stock market performance has been significant. So a guy like one of the gentlemen I know on the call, who I met back in my days at KPMG, if he had invested in the stock market in 1985, 86, when I first met him, then returns would be very significant to him. The portfolio just by buying and holding would be about 6 or 8 times the initial investment value. One of the strategies Tom recommended, particularly, and it's more applicable to North American investment in the stock market, would be to buy every year, sell the 5 top performers in the portfolio, buy the worst 10 stocks in the portfolio, and rebalance every year. The rationale behind that was that majority of the stocks in the Dow average are what we call cyclical stocks. So there's some that will always be going on the downward trend, and the others will always be on the upward trend. And essentially, the strategy is sell high, buy low, and repeat. Okay. The last ritual is pay forward. Donate to the things that you treasure the most. So a classic example, back in the mid-1980s, Ted Turner, when he was the original owner of CNN and the Atlanta Braves, he said he will donate his wealth to charity, and particularly to the UN. Warren Buffett has said the same, and he started to actively do that. Bill Gates has done the same as well. And the funny thing about each of those gentlemen, as they have gone about and made those charitable contributions and donated part of their wealth annually every year, they have continued to reap significant rewards from their businesses as a result. So the more they make, the more that they have been able to donate. They have not been able to give the money away. I'm not saying that's going to be helpful to all of us, but that charitable spirit is important to us for peace of mind. We know that we're returning something back to our peers and to our economy. One of the things, if you really are keen on being charitable, I would also say to you, investigate the charitable organizations that you wish to contribute to over the long term. Things like the Red Cross,